Welcome to Vermonters in Business, where we highlight some of the very best business leaders in our state and the amazing things they're doing in their communities. People of Vermont, welcome to Vermonters in Business, where our mission is to highlight the businesses and business leaders in our state that are doing outstanding things in both their work and in their communities. We have a great show today, but first, I am your co-host, Drew Kinney. I am a seventh-generation Vermonter, a business owner in the state, and I am super excited today. But please join me in welcoming our co-host on the show, Travis Spencer. He is a serial entrepreneur, a local business enthusiast, and around here we know him as a world-class insurance agent. Travis, how are we doing today? What are the hot takes you got for me?
Doing great. We got a great guest today, and as you always know, I like to keep my hot takes kind of in line with the guest. So we have a guest who's going to talk about dance. Breakdancing is in the Olympics this year.
All right.
So my hot takes about the Olympics. This has been a hot take of mine for years. We just need 5 set locations for the Olympics.
Oh.
And you just rotate them.
Yeah.
There's no need to do all this pomp and circumstance we do every year. We're going to have, you got to build arenas you don't have. And it doesn't have to be just a city.
Yeah.
It should be a whole region. Like, I'm watching beach volleyball in Paris. There's no beaches in Paris. So this beach volleyball should be down, on the Mediterranean coast somewhere or something. So the Olympics should be in a region, not in a certain city, and they should be just the same countries we rotate them through.
I mean, you could throw it all the way back and just go to Greece, right? Just have it right.
Just do them all in
one
Greece.
spot. Yeah.
There's always in Greece.
Yeah.
But I've been saying this for years. I'm like, I don't know why we spend, billions of dollars for towns to build stuff that they're never going to use again. Let's go to places that have the infrastructure.
Well, my question is, are the Olympics economically profitable to the city that hosts them?
Not usually.
Really, they do lose money, even with huge
unless you are a city that has the infrastructure. I mean, because you go to like Sarajevo or even like Sochi, they had to build these housing facilities.
The sad thing is that these stadiums are like dilapidated in like a few years afterwards. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Use where there is already infrastructure. That's been my hot take.
Probably environmentally better as well.
Yeah,
in that
definitely.
case.
Yes.
All right. Well, like I mentioned, we have a great show today. Joining us today is Megan Stearns from Lines Vermont Studio. Megan, how are we doing today?
Very well, thanks.
So, Megan, you're originally from New York, Long Island area.
Long Island,
All right. Very cool. And now you live in Heinsberg?
Yes.
Yep. And how have you felt, how's that change been, going from Long Island to Heinsberg?
Wow. Yes. So
loaded question. Yeah.
Long Island is a Long Island, and there are parts of it that are super built up, especially as you get closer to the city. Where I was from, it was very rural, and there was a lot of farmland. So in that sense, it's kind of similar. I've always loved like the green and the natural areas.
Yeah.
But Vermont is more progressive than Long Island.
Okay, sure. So how do you call the town? Is it Mattatuck?
Mattatuck, yes.
Mattatuck. Nailed it. All right.
Yes.
First time for everything.
Job.
Yeah.
And you didn't mess anyone's name up
I just
today.
didn't avoid it. Yeah. We were pretty straightforward on the names today, so that was helpful.
That was good.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Lines VT. So when did you guys officially get started?
2019.
2019, okay.
Yes, 9 months before the pandemic.
Okay, so you're coming up on 5 years?
We have done 5 years.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And weathered through a pandemic. That's not easy to do.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially right in the beginning. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to dive into some of the cool things that make Lines VT fun, but before we do that, we're going to jump into something that we call the Vermont Hot Seat. Megan, are you ready to take on the Vermonter Hot Seat?
I think so.
All right.
We'll see.
Pancakes or waffles, what are you having with your Vermont maple syrup?
Pancakes.
Okay, nice. Making a little run. A perfect day for you. Is it a winter day at the mountain or a summer day at the lake?
Summer at the lake.
Okay. All right. Easy one.
Yeah.
Do you do any winter sports?
I did do snowboarding, but it doesn't really jive well with dance, and my knees have,
fair.
So
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And it is your birthday dinner. You can go to any restaurant in the state. Where are you headed?
Oh, I love Shelburne Farms.
Oh, I like it. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. And then hot summer day, what's your creamy order?
I like chocolate with chocolate sprinkles.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's a unique one.
Nice. That is a unique one.
I mean,
the sprinkles, I love sprinkles.
The go-to is like, Vermont maple, and some people will throw out the classic twist. So
Right.
Yeah.
I like chocolate.
Chocolate with sprinkles, I like
I
it.
once ate too much maple ice cream, so now I get sick from it.
I see. Yeah, it'd be easy to do. It could happen to anybody. All right, well, that's the hot seat, so you survived. Yeah, the seat's going to get a little colder. We're going to talk a little bit about more of something that you're probably very familiar with, and that's, the dance studio. So, Travis, go right forward.
Yeah, let's just start with the easy one. what's lines VT? What do you guys do?
Yeah.
And I was warned ahead of time that you guys are experts on asking dance questions.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about this.
The hokey pokey is probably
So Lions Vermont is a dance studio for grown-ups. Okay. It's for adults. So Vermont actually is home to so many dance schools, like way more than you would think the state could support. There are many young kids in Vermont who are taking dance.
Yeah.
Just in Chittenden County alone, there are 6 to 8 dance schools.
Okay.
So, but there were no schools that are dedicated to adults. And I was an adult dancer in Vermont and was wishing I had more options to take class. And so when I met my business partner, June, she said she was looking to do something more. She had a dance retail store and she said, I want to expand it and just do something else. And I thought, let's do a studio for adults.
Yeah, very cool.
So that's what we did. And we offer a huge variety of classes.
When you first kind of rolled it out, what was like the initial reception? Was there like a bunch of people that were like, "This is what we've been waiting for," or what? How was that kind of?
Good question.
Yeah.
It was boop boop.
Yeah.
Because our business is seasonal. Like when it's gorgeous outside, fewer people come in to dance.
Yeah.
So we opened in June, and we did open with a lot of fanfare. We had this big event. Tons of people came to class. I was like sitting there like crying watching it.
Yeah.
And then a week later, it was like crickets.
Oh no.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes. And we're thinking like, is this going to work?
Right.
Oh my God, maybe there are not as many people here who we thought who would be interested in this.
Right.
But thank God.
Yeah.
So, well, that was going to be one of my questions. Do you see, one-timers, or did you see people come in apprehensive and they're like, oh, I want to try this again? You said you saw that spike and then it came down, but...
In the beginning, we were finding that it was only novelty that would bring people in. Like they wanted to try something they hadn't before, and then they weren't necessarily sticking with it. So we were constantly having to like think of new things, bring in new teachers, pop-up classes. We coined this phrase. We were bringing in masterclass teachers from major ballet companies like in Boston or New York, and they'd come up and teach us. Cool. A lot of people would come out, but then like they wouldn't come regularly.
Yeah.
So that in the beginning I thought was going to be a huge problem because we had to spend a ton of advertising dollars just to get people in.
Right.
But fortunately now, 5 years later, we have many more regulars, and we've got like big groups of people who take ballet, big groups who take contemporary. So we're solid now.
So what types of classes do you offer?
My gosh. So we have ballet, tap, jazz, contemporary. Then we have heels dancing, which is like sexy pop dancing, like in music videos.
Yeah.
We've got burlesque dancing, which is a strip tease.
Yeah.
We have pole dancing, and then we added aerial classes because we expanded our studio in the winter.
Yeah.
So we have trapeze, silks, we have aerial hoop, we have straps, which is like in the Olympics with the rings.
Yeah.
And we have acro classes, Zumba, tango, flamenco.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, when you said the aerial, do you think shows, and this is, I don't know why this came to mind, but shows like America's Got Talent, because I think that's where I got exposed to aerial, because my wife and I used to watch that show, and then you would see, and that's where you see things you don't normally see because people are going on there. But do you think stuff like that gives dance more popularity?
100%. And TikTok has been huge for dance. It's been, getting people way more exposed to it. And then I just think the rise of celebrities like Beyonce, a little bit Taylor Swift, although she's not much of a dancer, not to hate on Taylor, but like this is getting people more interested in dance.
Don't tell Alice.
Yeah, we might be in like the top 0.1% of Taylor Swift listeners in my house.
Gotcha.
So,
She's a great singer.
But you bring up an interesting point. Do you think people, I'm sure people go for a lot of different reasons, but is marketing dance as a form of exercise something that might pivot people more to being consistent?
Such a good question. That was the first question I asked myself when we opened, and that was how I advertised it. And I posted pictures of like this buff ballet guy like holding this woman up with one hand, and people were so intimidated, and they felt like I don't relate to this.
Right.
I mean, it's in Vermont especially, right?
Yep.
So we stopped, and so no, we no longer advertise it as a fitness alternative. Okay. Now it's like dance for dance's sake.
Got it. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned this before, but mental health, I'm sure it's huge.
Oh my God. Okay. Mental health is a huge chunk of this. So for example, I know a lot of people look at our pole dancing classes, our heels, or burlesque, and they think like that is bottom tier of society. There are a lot of negative stigmas around this form of dance because they're affiliated with sex workers, right?
Right.
But in fact, these forms of dance are really coming much more into the mainstream now because women find them very liberating. And, feminism has been so narrowly defined by our culture, like what makes a proper woman and what's acceptable and, socially commended in terms of women's behavior.
Yep.
And these classes allow women to explore parts of themselves that they felt like they had to hide or repress before without judgment.
Yep.
And so there are a lot of women who, for example, come to our burlesque classes and they have a very negative self-image. Either they hate their body, which again is, because of our culture and dictating women's standards for women's bodies, or they have a weird relationship with their sexuality or just something like this. They feel shy, and this class allows them to just be whoever they are, and they're accepted, and it's a very supportive environment. And so women find this super empowering.
Right. Plus, I think just in general, as adults, like, we don't get a chance to just go out and play.
Oh my gosh, and be vulnerable.
Regardless of the class, it's an opportunity to go out and do something fun.
100%. Exactly. Totally.
We get in our daily grinds, and we don't think that we can go out and just do something that's brand new to us. And
That's right.
Fun.
And it takes a lot of courage to do that. So many people come to class and they're so afraid, and they'll even call us up ahead of time. They're like, I've never danced before, I don't know what to do. And they almost need their hand held walking into class.
Yeah.
But then they really enjoy it,
Do you allow folks to do maybe like a group or a party session, like individual? Because to your point with intimidation, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, can you imagine going into a room, bunch of people you don't know? I mean, do you offer something where like, hey, I got 10 friends and we want to just try this out type thing?
Yes, people do book private lessons with us, sometimes with a group. Yeah. But the other thing is, what you'll find is when you go into class, everybody is in your shoes. I mean, you're all thinking the same thing. So I think there's a lot of solidarity in that.
And is it, for some, like you were saying, it's fun to get out as an adult. Do you think some people have, I was thinking about this, like when we were kids, we were obviously much more fun and we just did whatever we wanted. We didn't care. So for some people coming, is it this feeling they had maybe as a child and now they're like, I'm an adult, but I want to try. I just have to try it to get out.
I think absolutely. That's really intuitive. Yeah. The other thing that we find with adults who want to dance is that when they were kids, especially if they were in something like ballet or something else that's very competitive, regimented, that there was all of this pressure and maybe they didn't match the expectations as a child, and now they can just dance for fun and they love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we talked about dance, and obviously we don't know a ton about dance, Drew and I. We'll admit. This question might be misguided in the sense that I don't follow dance, but is dance becoming more popular? Did it ever go away? Because I think as a kid growing up, there was always, decades had dances, right? I mean, we can go back to the old time dance, ballroom dancing, we talk about other things. We talk about break dancing was popular in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. Then, you had like line dancing, you have all these different types of dance. Mm-hmm. Did it ever go away, one? And if it did, is it starting to make a comeback?
I don't think the popularity of dance went away, but I do think it was more niche before social media brought it more to the public's view and made it look more fun.
Right.
And I do think that, like, in the current evolution of dance, it's about androgynous dance forms. We see a lot of men now who are dancing in heels, and they take it up to this very athletic level where it's just incredible what they can do in a pair of heels, you know? Definitely. And then women are also emulating that, and there's some styles from, like, the drag scene that are just coming into mainstream dance quite a bit, so it's all sort of meshing, and I just think that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I know historically, being a football fan, a lot of athletes used to do dance in the off season as a training. Yes. They would do ballet. Yes. Do you see some of that, or is that an angle too to push for the younger athletes to be like, hey, if you want that balance or other things?
You're right. I mean, I remember when I was a kid taking class that there was this whole thing about football players taking ballet, and I don't see that now, so I'm not sure, but definitely everyone can benefit from a dance training because it's so good for body awareness and coordination. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever do ballet during high school for football?
I did not. But also popular to football, when I was in high school, it was like 80 kids on the football team, and now they're lucky to get, an offense and a defense. So.
But even like hockey players or anything, just anything coordination-wise should be dancing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Want to talk about the Vermont Dance Alliance?
Sure, yes. So this is sort of like my other life, but it does tie in hand with Lions Vermont. So the Vermont Dance Alliance is a small nonprofit. It is the arts service organization for dance in Vermont. So it's statewide, and it serves all of the dancers in Vermont.
Okay.
And, just like in many other professions in Vermont, dancers suffer from rural isolation. Like, they don't know how to find people. They don't know what opportunities are out there. There's a huge shortage of arts funding in the state, unfortunately. So they don't know how to get the word out about the projects they're working working on. They don't know how to fund them. They don't know how to find people to collaborate with. So the Vermont Dance Alliance has built this digital platform for them to connect, and we help promote events and we help connect them to resources.
Okay.
The other thing we've done is, what I've noticed as a studio owner is that, our most talented instructors that we bring in, who are like world class, they inevitably leave because there's just not enough paid opportunity here.
Okay.
And that is a shame, right? So the Vermont Dance Alliance is working to create new career pathways for dance artists.
Okay.
So one thing we made is a residency program that pays you. So you get a big chunk of money, and you get 6 months of free studio space to make a new work.
Okay.
And then the Alliance produces a statewide tour of the work, so you can sort of like get that out there. So it's a launching pad, and then hopefully book new work from there.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what the Alliance does.
Well, then that brings up a great question. So, from an event standpoint, because obviously, you're doing classes, you do other things, but the biggest part is the performance.
Yes.
So, what type of event opportunities are there in Vermont for these dancers?
Yeah, I mean, among this cadre of dancers who wants to be performing, they generally have to create their own performance opportunities. Right now, there's no like company in Vermont that can employ people full time to dance.
Right.
So they're creating their own stuff. They're going for these grants that are very small and very hotly contested. So good luck getting one, and then it's like $1,000.
Right.
It's just not that much for a big show.
Yep.
At Lines, we produce a performance for our students who want to perform. So that's one opportunity they have.
What do you think's holding it back? Is it just like lack of venue, or is it just not the right audience, or combo of it all? Probably.
Yeah. I mean, number one, it's a small state, so the market is very small.
Right.
But number two, I do think that here there is less awareness of dance and appreciation for it, like understanding of what dance is.
Yeah.
And I know that when you try to put on a show, you have to advertise the heck out of it to get people to come. It's hard.
Yeah.
And then once they do come, they're very surprised because we have a lot of talent here. So it's just getting that word out.
Yeah.
So we talked about you've been in business 5 years. You survived the pandemic.
Yeah.
What other challenges have you had, not excluding COVID, but have you had in the business?
Oh, I know. I don't want to get negative, but I do think it's hard to do business in Vermont. I do. I think it's hard to be a small business owner in Vermont. I mean, the commercial real estate is really high here, and we have an amazing location. I love our landlord. He's very supportive, but it is very expensive. We pay $120,000 a year in rent.
Jeez,
And then there are just so many taxes that are levied against business owners. And when I do follow the legislative session, and I hear a lot of conversation about like, how are we going to fix these budget shortfalls, put it on businesses, which I don't know why, because we're just people.
Right,
and, it took a very long time, many years for June and I to make any money at all from this, but this was a volunteer effort for a long time, and we are not going to get rich from it ever. So we're just people creating jobs for other people, and I just feel like there's this very negative perception of like businesses are greedy and gobbling up all the money. I don't know.
I agree with that perception. It
is tough. It is tough.
So those are the hardest things. Like the overhead, I would say, is tough. Yeah.
So with the crystal ball going forward, you've been in business 5 years. You've had obviously some big challenges. What do you see for the future going forward for your business?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we just continue to expand in terms of getting more and more people to class, trying dance. Our most popular classes are our total beginner classes, and we're bringing in lots of new people. And so it's just keeping those people coming and progressing and gaining more confidence as dancers. Continuing to add more classes that people are interested in.
Yeah, you mentioned you're doing some summer camps.
Yes, we've got to fill those morning hours when people are at work. So we do offer some things for kids, like camps, or we have like teen aerial classes and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So your schedule usually then is evening, like late afternoon,
evenings and weekends when adults are not working is when we're the busiest.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What about, you mentioned the difficulty of just putting on a show. Is there a thought of becoming a promoter somehow, or is that something you guys think about doing? Or
yes, well, we do work closely with the Vermont Dance Alliance, so we promote a lot of what they do, and a lot of our teachers will be active in the performance scene and that sort of thing. So whether or not we become official presenters, I think if the budget were there, that would be something we're interested in. We just have to build up to that.
Yeah, very cool. So within your, over the past 5 years, right, one of their key audiences here is we do have a lot of business, folks that like to tune in and check out the show and see what people are doing. But have you had any really solid lessons learned or things that maybe you do a little bit differently over the past 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like when I think about advice I would give to people maybe who are considering going into business.
Yeah.
And these are things that I probably heard and it was just hypothetical and I couldn't really understand it internally, but it is going to be a lot of work and it's going to be a lot of sacrifice from your whole family, right? Because it's my time away from the family. It's financial sacrifices they're going to have to make. And it's just hearing all the time about the business. Ad nauseum, right?
Right.
So just to be prepared for that lifestyle, it's so different.
Yeah.
I guess making sure that you do have a backup plan if it doesn't go as expected.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you went through a number of years where you weren't turning a profit, and that's not easy to get through. Yeah,
exactly.
Is the magic wand? We talked about just the state of business in Vermont, but also getting the word out there. What do you think would be, the magic wand, if you will? Is it less regulation or is it more marketing dollars? Like, what's the one thing that you could use to really push this to the next level? Is it public awareness or finances or combination of the two?
Push the business to the next level. Yeah, I think it's probably public awareness for dance specifically.
Right.
Like when I try to get news stories out about the Alliance and the things they're doing, it will be crickets out there. Like the media is just not interested. You know what I mean? So I think for that perception to change would really help.
Well, have we got a podcast for you to help get the word out?
I'm grateful for this. Yeah, it's wonderful.
For the studio, what do you find to be the most kind of effective, I don't want to say marketing strategies, but what sort of helps bring people in the most that you hear? Is it like word of mouth, or is it people catching a reel on Instagram or something like that?
Yes, it is the videos for sure that we post, and I think it's people seeing people who are just like them, able to do these things that makes them think, okay, I can try that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anything we missed that you want to add, or any topics?
Well, I just want to say that, to come and take class, you don't have to have any prior experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people will write to us and say, like, do I need to be a certain weight to take class or anything? No, like, come as you are. We have had people in wheelchairs take class. Really, like, we can accommodate you wherever you are and with whatever you've got.
Right on the website, too. Very inclusive. You even mention it. None of these things matter. Just come on in.
Right.
Exactly.
And if you're not coordinated now, that's the point. We'll show you how to be coordinated. So just come try. Yeah.
Hey, I started doing yoga years ago and I love it. So anyone can do anything.
Yes,
it's
there
just
you go.
like
I think the Acra stuff is so impressive. When I was pre-COVID, I was going to a local gym and there was a lady that would come and she would set up her Acra setup, and she would literally climb the rope all the way up to the rafters, and then she would hook her things in, and then she would do whatever she did, and then she had to go back up and take it down.
Yes, that is cool.
Well, we're watching a show on HGTV, and they do renovations of farmhouses in New England. And one of the things this family wanted was their daughter was into acrobatics.
Cool.
And they built a facility in a barn just for her to do her training.
Wow.
And to your point, they had stairs that went up and she hooked everything up and came down. So
that's awesome.
It's quite a lot to do that.
Fortunately, our points can stay put up there.
That's good. All right, Megan, so where can people find you?
We're at linesvermont.com.
Yep, and over in South Burlington.
That's right, South Burlington, Farrell Street. A lot of people know Clingers. We're in the same building as Clingers.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
And the retail shop?
The retail shop is right there in our space.
Okay.
All right, and what type of things do you have at the shop?
We have dancewear and footwear and accessories for all ages, toddler to adults.
Cool. Yeah, I know we talked a lot about the classes, and we don't want to skip over the fact that you have
a store too.
The store part of it as well.
We're the only one in this area of Vermont.
Which is awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have anything else, Travis?
Nothing.
No. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and this
my pleasure.
was really enlightening.
It's been so fun.
Yeah,
good.
And good on
we'll
you.
start promoting dance.
Like I said, it's not easy to get adults out doing something outside of their comfort zone, and so that's awesome service. And a very cool business.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's been another episode of Vermonters in Business. As always, if you know anybody that should be on our show, please send them our way. We'd love to have them on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. That was awesome. Yeah.